This is actually one of the very first Godzilla -1 figures that we have, and it's here by Super7, but is it just a big $80 hunk of plastic, or is it actually a pretty awesome figure? Let's open it up, find out, and of course do some toy photography. So, what's your opinion on the brand Super7? It's interesting for me because I see a lot of negative comments, a lot of negative things about Super7, but at the same time, anytime I do a Super7 video, it gets a lot more views than other videos. And a lot of the times, the biggest complaint seems to be too expensive. Way too expensive. A lot of these figures, in my opinion, are pretty great, and Super7 is doing a lot of figures of properties and fandoms of things that other figure brands aren't putting out. So, I don't know, I kind of like Super7, but sometimes I do kind of agree that a lot of their figures, I don't know, maybe 10 bucks cheaper or something like that. So, we've got another Super7 figure right here, which is the Godzilla -1, which is very exciting because Godzilla -1 is an absolutely wonderful, beautiful, incredible movie, which made me cry. And there have been some other Godzilla -1 figures, but not a whole lot. I think the only other one out right now is the SH Monster Arts. There's another SH Monster Arts on pre-order right now. And as far as I know, Hiya Toys has been pretty quiet with Godzilla -1. Let me know if I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything Hiya Toys for Godzilla -1. What's up with that? If you want a Godzilla -1 figure, you've got this one, which is around $80, or an SH Monster Arts, which is a bit more expensive than this. So this seems to be the cheaper option. So I don't know, I guess the best thing for us to do is to shut up, find out, and see if this is really worth the $80 that it is, because 80 bucks is still a lot of money. I don't care who you are, 80 bucks is a lot of money. So, this figure was sent over to me by the wonderful people at Entertainment Earth. If you are a fan of action figures and you want to get them safely, Entertainment Earth is definitely the way to go. They've got a massive Godzilla selection, including Godzilla -1. They've got the new Monster Arts black and white up for pre-order on there, and you know that when Hiya Toys drops their -1 figure, Entertainment Earth will have it on pre-order. So make sure to head to the description below. If you want to pick this guy up, use my discount code too. Just always use that code. Plus, it helps me out greatly. So thank you so much to you and to Entertainment Earth, as always. If there's one thing that Super7 objectively, I think, always does right, is their packaging. I mean, every time, I love the shape of the boxes. They're always big and grand feeling, and I think the packaging is always spot on and awesome. So I don't care who you are, Super7 always wins with the packaging, even though I'm gonna throw this out and recycle this box right after this, but the packaging is always very cool. All right. Here he is, and his tail is detached, so I thought I would get it on camera, or I'm actually putting it in case it's really difficult. Okay, I might need to get into a better camera position, because I just used a lot of my brute strength, which isn't a lot in general, but I did use a lot of it. Trying again. Jeez, I'm getting sweaty. Is that in? Jeez, I'm like wearing down the plastic inside of there. I'm sorry, this is probably gonna be a really loud grunting video. I'm expecting a good click. Ooh, okay. Okay, I need to take a breather for a second. Okay, well, right off the bat, first impressions, he looks really, really good. Especially when I'm looking in my camera view right now, he looks really great even on camera too. There are a couple things that I'm noticing off the bat here. He's actually a bit lighter than I was expecting. He's still very heavy, especially with the tail in for sure. But he's a little lighter than I expected. Seems to be like a few major sections, like tail, this torso, upper torso, head, legs. The main chunk of him right here, this is pretty hollow. It's definitely bringing the weight down. I feel like if it wasn't, it might be too heavy. And the upper torso might be as well. So it is a little bit lighter than I was expecting, but still very heavy. These legs, these hunky, big, thick, juicy thighs are definitely not hollow. And of course the tail as well, which is nicely articulated. And the other thing that's pointing out to me that I don't love is the shininess of the final paint. Like if you look at more of the Hayatoys ones, those definitely have much more of a matte kind of look to it. These have a shinier, glossy kind of look. It feels cheaper to me. I don't know if that's just me, but it gives more of a cheaper feeling, like kind of like the way the Playmates kinds of Godzillas look. Maybe that's just the solid plastic and that's not paint on it. Other than that though, I think he looks quite good. Quite great actually. So this is my first Godzilla -1 figure. I've done a few other Godzilla videos. By the way, if you want to see any of those, they're on the channel now. Plus I've got a whole bunch more Godzilla stuff coming. Always Toho, Monster Arts, Hayatoys, so much coming soon. So definitely make sure you're subscribed. But like I was saying, I don't have a lot of experience with -1 figures. So one thing I'm thinking about right now are his spikes. And they are a little bit taller and more narrow. His spikes feel delicate. I feel like I'm gonna break a spike if I drop this. Can you hear that? Like, it feels like they're a hard plastic and they are narrow, so I feel like I could just and snap one of them off, and I'm really afraid of that. They look great, but that is just something I'm a little afraid of. Maybe I'm wrong, just the fact that it makes a noise makes me a little nervous. Definitely does. Onto articulation already. I'm gonna jump right into that because I've already noticed that the articulation's pretty good. There's a lot of movement you can get out of him pretty quickly. Like his arms, like you can get all of that all the way up. Like woohoo, yippee! Am I right? All these elbow swivels are going on over here. He can go out like that. Elbow movement too. He's got that 90-degree angle. And he's got some hand movements here. No extra hands, so you're kind of stuck with these, which not a big deal. This right here is a little concerning though. This just is like, that's actually really loose. He looks like he's about ready to spin around and take liftoff. The other arm is not like that. It just seems to be this arm right here that is having that super loose. I guess really isn't much of a problem, but it's not a good look. So this Godzilla is much more of an upright kind of humanoid kind of shoulder type situation than the American Godzilla designs that I've reviewed with Hayatoys. So maybe this is the reason, but it already kind of seems like the articulation is a little bit more free and maybe even better with this. Like you've got all this head movement on here, which you definitely don't have that on a Hayatoys, at least from the American ones. Like I've said, not gonna lie, I was really impressed to see how much he can move like that. Torso movement's pretty strong too. You've got all this just to go up and down like that, and to twist. All right. You can do that, so that's kind of cool. He's also got bigger feet than an American Godzilla, which might make it easier for him to balance like that, but you can really get him up there. I wonder if you can get him to balance like this without having to fall back right on his butt like that. Oh, his legs move outwards too. You can kind of spread them too, which, so that's a new discovery, but I don't think we're gonna be able to get the balancing act. That tail is just too heavy. And as far as the tail goes, you can get, oh, hang on a sec. Okay, that's it. Everything's okay. But as far as the tail goes, you've got all that. You've got a solid U shape going on here with that articulation, which looks really good. That's a lot of movement, actually. I feel like that might be more than the Haya. Maybe? I don't know. Looks good down like that too, and you are able to give it a little bit of movement when it's down like that too, which can make some really cool kinds of shots from behind, you know what I mean, when you're trying to get those very iconic Godzilla tail shots, which I think look really good. The Hayatoys that I'm comparing it to really is a very different type of figure and tail, so it's really kind of unfair for me to be comparing it this much. This is just the only real comparison I have to make with them, but it is what it is, I guess. Okay, and time for the accessories / accessory. Just the one. this is it. So yeah, he comes with an extra head, which is this more angry, yelling, roaring head, which is a choice as opposed to having an articulated face, an articulated mouth. He has a totally different head. It does have a little bit of a different expression going on too. This one has a lot more of a angry, wide open eyes too, as well as just the mouth. Let's see if it's actually easy to change. Oh, okay, that's a pain. The joint peg came out with the head, which needs to be in the neck because the extra head doesn't have a peg. So now I gotta figure out a good way to get that out. That's annoying. I'm gonna have to just heat this up, hot water or something, pull that peg out, and then put it into this one so I can change the heads. Not gonna lie, that is a little annoying. Okay, the head is warm right now from some hot water. That came out quite nicely. All right, I didn't warm up this head. Why didn't I do that? Okay, the peg has been switched. Let's put it back on. Man, these spikes are like, I can't hold on to it because of these spikes. There it goes. There we go. All right. This head looks really good. I think this will probably be the head that I keep on him all the time, on the shelf and stuff like that. It just feels more Godzilla-esque, you know? And he's just got the most expressive face in that movie. And so I feel like this is just kind of the most like it, and I like it a lot. So I think I'll keep this one on. So a lot of complaints that I've seen about this figure, and I kind of agree with a little bit too, are the seams. There's a lot of very visible seams. Pretty visible ones right smack down the center of their faces here. And it's not actually quite so clear in camera. If you look straight here on this one, on the right-hand side, you can see it on his bottom lip pretty clearly. After that, you can kind of see it in between his eyes, but it's not really that strong. Maybe a little bit on his nose, kind of right there. But other than that, it's really not super terrible. And I feel like it's even less visible on this face here. It's really not so bad. I think it's pretty clear in other places more. Like if you look right here, that's a pretty clear seam. Same over here, like that's very, very clear. And it does definitely give off more of a cheap feel, but I really don't think it's that bad. But if you are comparing it to Haya, they don't have anything like that. No kinds of seams at all whatsoever. Seamless. So as we have made very clear in this video already, this is a big boy. Godzilla is a big boy, but how big of a boy is he? Good posture, stand up straight. There we go. Godzilla is like exactly 8 inches. How long is he? 14 inches or so. Seems about right. So here he is compared once again to the Haya Toys Godzilla vs. Kong. And here he is compared to SH Monster Arts. This is the one that everybody hates, the the one from the Tamashii Nation's store. Yeah, he's definitely got a couple inches on him. Thighs are thicker. It's definitely a bigger guy. He's bigger than all of these guys, for sure. Save some room on your shelf if you want him. Okay, well, what's the verdict? Is he a W or is he an L? Or, for that matter, is he worth the $80 that he is? You know, especially when Haya Toys is putting these figures out for 50 to 60, and they look, you know, maybe a little bit better. I think he should be like 60, to be honest. He feels like a $60 figure, and I think that would be fair, but 80's too much. It's definitely too much money. I definitely don't want to say if you spend $80, it's not worth it for you, because if you buy this and you love it, it's absolutely worth $80, because it's really awesome. Does that mean he's a W or an L, though? I definitely can't give him an L. There's no way. There's no way, because the articulation is great. He looks really good. There are some things about it, however, that I don't love, like the shininess of the paint. If he was more of a matte kind of look, like this Godzilla vs. Kong Godzilla, that would be so much different. It would change everything, in my opinion. Articulation's great. He feels good. You know, it's he's definitely a W. He's just not like a super W. He's a W. He's not like a W. He's a W. Man, I really gotta hand it to all of the toy photographers that are mainly kaiju and Godzilla toy photographers, because it's really hard to keep coming up with ideas with him. I only have so many mini buildings and trees to come up with different ideas. It's really hard, but I think I've got another idea. It's gonna be a funny one, that's for sure. Not a very serious photo, but it's gonna be good. So let's go set that up and take this shot. So really quick, before I show you my shot all set up, I actually went and I gave this guy a coat with a matte finish because I was complaining so much about the shiny look of everything. And then after I sprayed it with some of this matte finish, it really made a major difference. It's not really super shiny anymore. All those spots that were real shiny are very matte now, and it makes a huge difference. So I highly recommend doing that. If you have this figure, go for it. It makes a big difference. I'll have the matte finish I used in the link in the description, and makes a really big difference. Hopefully you can tell just by this. Much better. So, do you ever wonder what happens when Godzilla has to take a poop? Well, I do. I wonder that. I can't help but think it must be a massive dump. When he has to go, it must be massive. And so that's what this photo is about. And I haven't got it all set up quite yet, but this is what I've got so far. So Godzilla is in his little city right now, and he's just in ready position here. So I've used a stand over here and a stick there to hold him up. And so the location I'm using is somewhere I've taken photos pretty often. I go here every so often. It's a great spot. I actually really like this spot. But the reason why I chose here is because I've got a cement kind of ground and still also have very deep sky background, so I can get nothing in the background. This is how it's looking so far. I'm gonna put a nice little log right there of his, and so I'm not sure how this is gonna work, but I'm gonna use this some chocolate frosting and I'm gonna try and squirt a little something down there to make it look like a big Mondo Duke. And I'm gonna put some little mini people around it too, like they're just kind of watching, looking at the big dump, and hopefully it'll make some good scale. I don't know. I really don't know exactly how this is gonna turn out. I'm unfortunately in the shade. I wasn't aware of the sun gonna be there. I thought the sun was gonna be over there. Didn't really plan that out correctly, but I'm gonna try and set the rest of this up with the frosting and see how it looks, and we'll go from there. Okay, I think I've got everything all set up here. I did such a great job forming that big mound right there. There's actually a little piece of wind debris on it right now. Oh well, but it looks really good. I actually did a practice one over here because I only really had one shot at it, so I wasn't gonna clean it up and do it again. So I did a great job. And so I strategically placed some of the people around here. And so in camera, it's kind of looking like this. And it's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to take some different shots with lighting in different areas. I'm definitely gonna replace the sky with a blue sky in Photoshop, but I think it's pretty much ready to just take this shot. The setup I thought was gonna be complicated, but it worked out pretty good. My settings are I'm at an f5.6, which is very high for me because I wanna have a lot more in focus. So I've got a lot going on here. And so my shutter speed is at 160, which is very slow. Because of my f-stop being so high, it made my shutter speed need to go up a little bit too to make it less dark. And it's working out. And then my ISO is at 400. Also, if you're curious about any of the stuff I'm using, I did a whole video on all these buildings. I'll have that linked in the description, where to get all that stuff. I'll have the people, the trees, everything I use is always linked in the description. Even the camera and the tripod, all this stuff. I mean, if you want, I'll even put this in the description too. But you can get this at the grocery store. I don't know if this is the weirdest shot I've ever taken. Let me know if you think it is, but I'm so glad I'm doing it. I'm gonna go and take this shot now. I think I'm pretty much ready to go, so let's go. Always clean up after yourself. Yeah, here we go. I'm sure the fish and whatever's down there will love all that sugar and eat it up. You're welcome. All right, I've got Godzilla poop on my fingers.
So is this a good figure in the end? Yes, absolutely. Is the $85 a fair price for it? I don't think so. I think this definitely should be a $60 figure around that price range. And even when you give it that matte finish in the end, it still looks really good. And I do think this is a great figure. But either way, I had a blast with it. And I'm still very excited to add it to the ever-growing Godzilla collection. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. This photo here will be thrown up onto Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all those places. I have all of my links to those below as well if you want to follow me on those platforms as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching and getting this far into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.